was more than 200 years ago, right here on Jones Street, when James Thompson died. The Confederate soldier was reportedly kicked in the stomach by a horse outside his home, now known as the Eliza Thompson House, a prominent downtown Savannah inn. James's spirit didn't go far, however. More than once, guests have seen a Confederate soldier looking out the window of room 132 down onto Jones Street.
Hi, we're at the Eliza Thompson House in the R. Bruce room, room number 132, and this is known as the most haunted room at the Eliza Thompson House. Behind me is a painting of Joseph Thompson, who built the house in 1847 for his wife, Eliza Thompson, and her 7 children. Several guests who stayed in this room have told us that they have seen a Confederate soldier looking out this window. One of Eliza's children was a Confederate soldier in the war, and people have told us that they've actually seen a ghost or a spirit or something standing here in the window looking down on Jones Street.
For one former guest of the Eliza Thompson House, his stay last summer was a haunting one. The guest didn't know much about the history of the inn. In fact, his wife made the reservations and picked the room. But after one night at the inn, the man knew all too well about the haunted happenings at the Eliza Thompson House. He later wrote of his accounts in an email to the innkeeper.
While I was trying to fall asleep, I heard a little girl joyfully and gleefully laughing, having fun. The voice was definitely of a young child. It was very happy, gleeful, joyful, and playful. That is the key word, playful. And what was unique about this voice was that it was distinctly heard within my room. If it had come from outside, it didn't come from a single direction. It didn't come from, say, the doorway or the hallway. It didn't come from, say, a vent or from the roof or from below or from outside the window. It was dynamic within the room. This was rather disturbing, and I wasn't frozen paralyzed, but I was tense and stayed still in bed. I listened to the laughing and I thought, oh my gosh. And I listened to it some more. I thought, please, please, I just want to go to bed. I continued to try to go to bed, but then I heard a second bout of long, continuous laughter. And this time, a voice clearly said, Daddy, 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 Daddy. It was spoken in the same voice and in the same joyful way. And as it was said, I felt pressure like 2 little open hands pressing repeatedly on my back, as if to get me to get up and play. I was shaken on each daddy, as if to get my attention and get me up and out of bed. I knew that only my wife and I were in the room, and I had not fallen asleep during this experience. I know no one other than my wife and I was in that room before going to bed. When I went down in the morning for breakfast, I just noticed the statues of little girls, and at this point, I had to ask the woman at the reception if the house was haunted.
Innkeeper Susan Powers says potential guests often call to inquire about the haunted happenings at the Eliza Thompson House. Some are brave enough to come and stay. Others pick a room besides 132. Year-round, you're likely to have an encounter with an unearthly spirit. The question is, can you handle room 132?